Reverend David McLaughlin, who will welcome you to Great St Mary's. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to Great St Mary's University Church. So, Lord Lieutenant and Mr Mayor, High Sheriff, medalists, guests, families, we are honoured to be hosting today's investiture here at the University Church. We've been home to civic and university services and monarchs and the great and the good and people from all around Cambridgeshire, but it's a very special honour to be hosting these investitures. I'll be running the live stream, and I've got to say it's been wonderful to hear the stories of your service. Do make yourself at home. Do be very comfortable here. I like to mortify the vicar and church wardens on whose behalf I'm speaking by reminding people we've seen it all before. We've been here 800 years, so be perfectly comfortable and at home. Without any further ado, I will go back to running the live stream, and it's a joy to welcome Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant, Miss Julie Spence.
Well, good morning everybody, and as Lord Lieutenant of Cambridgeshire and the Queen's representative of the county, I would like to welcome you and join in the welcome that you've just had from Devon McLaughlin, who is the Associate Rector here at Great St Mary's. Well, I'd also like to welcome some of our dignitaries here today. We have the High Sheriff, Mrs Caroline Buse. We have the Mayor of Cambridge, Councillor Russ McPherson. We also, as you've already met, Devon and Richard Summers, who is the Operations Director here at Great St Mary's. And to be honest, without him working with my team, we wouldn't have been able to put today on. So a big thank you, not only for you being able to use this fantastic iconic building in the middle of Cambridge, but also for their help and assistance throughout this putting on this investiture. I'd also like just to briefly mention, although you will see them all individually, the Deputy Lieutenants, you've already met our Roger Herriot, our Master of Ceremonies, and those of you, as you came in, you met our Master of the House, or Mistress of the House, Lily Bacon. You will also get to see and meet Ben Damazer, who is the Vice Lord Lieutenant, Sue Freestone, Richard Pemberton, Caroline Buse is here with two roles, because she's also a Deputy Lieutenant, Dame Polly Curtis, Karen Daber, and Roderick Watkins. One very special person standing over there is the Lord Lieutenant's Cadet, which is Cadet Staff Sergeant Ryder Cameron Wicks, and it's a real pleasure for me to have my Lord Lieutenant's Cadets here. They are the best of the best within the county. They're selected from all the cadet forces, not just Army, but RAF, Sea Cadets, Marines, and they are the top 5 to 7 every year, support me in my duty. And it's really lovely for him as well to hear the citations that we'll read out later, to hear the fantastic work that people in this county are actually doing. But then the most important people are our British Empire Medal recipients and your guests. And also including, which we wouldn't have had pre-COVID, any guests that are watching via live link, which I think is a phenomenal big plus. It is going to be a very special occasion, but it's also going to be different because it's socially distanced. I often wonder if we look back in a few years' time whether we are creating the new norm or this will be just something that happened 5 or 6 years previously. The recipients today are Janet Bayes, Andrew Bendon, Tamsin Holland-Brown, David King, Gabriella Pimentel, Valerie Weeks, and Valerie Ware and Michael Weeks. I just sort of thought I'd change your surnames around. Perhaps you'd like a new one for the day. But apologies for that. I've also forgotten to introduce one other person. It's Rosie Gutteridge, who's actually a Deputy Lieutenant from Bedfordshire, but she's also President of the Red Cross, and she's here also for Andrew's presentation for his work with the Red Cross. The British Empire Medal recognises superb selfless contributions to the community, and we'll all get to hear your stories very shortly. But before we move to the stars of our show, I just want to give you a small hors d'oeuvre. I want to present the deeds of appointment to 3 deputy lieutenants who have just been exalted to that level. Deputy Lieutenants are selected from people within the community of Cambridgeshire who have both achieved and committed to give back to the people of the county and are willing to support me in representing Her Majesty the Queen and her family. We have to go to the American pronunciation because, dare I say, they got it right on this occasion. Apparently, if you look at the history and derivation of lieutenant, it was actually lieutenant, but something happened in the 18th or 19th century, which meant we started to call it lieutenant. But lieutenant, I am a person in lieu of the tenant, and the tenant of the monarchy is Her Majesty the Queen, Queen Elizabeth, at this current juncture. A deputy lieutenant is deputising for the person who's in lieu of the tenant. And why was it Lord? And why can't you call me Lady? Well, actually, at that time, Lord, most of them were Lords and Lords of the Manor, and clearly that's something that's very much changed. But I look at Lord Lieutenant as a word like Chief Constable. It doesn't have sex or gender attached to it. I have to be approved by Her Majesty the Queen. My new Deputy Lieutenants have to be approved by the Cabinet Office, but they have to not be disapproved of by the Queen. Something very quaint and English, but it is the highest seal of approval. We have 42 in the county. I could, on the size and population of Cambridgeshire, have 51, but I can tell you 42 is enough to manage. And particularly as they'll all serve until they're 75 years old, exactly the same as the Lord Lieutenant. They all deserve our thanks and congratulations for agreeing to serve the county for many more years to come. And just one aside note, because sometimes people will say, what's the difference between a High Sheriff and a Lord Lieutenant? The High Sheriff is an appointment also for Her Majesty, but it has 1 year duration, and it's specifically focused on the judiciary and the justice system within the county. Although throughout this year, at many events that we hopefully will have, even if they're socially distanced, you will see both Caroline and I there, because it's very much about supporting the people of Cambridgeshire and everything that they actually do. So what I'd like to do now is to present deeds of appointment, first of all, to Dame Polly Curtis. To Karen Daver. And last but by no means least, Roderick Hopkins. I could say they don't know what they've let themselves in for, but I think they do. What I want to do now is just to tell you a little bit about the very special award our recipients will be getting today. The British Empire Medal, or the BEM, is awarded for meritorious service worthy of recognition by the Crown. It's awarded for hands-on service to the local community. This could be long-term charitable or voluntary work, or it could be innovative work, something that's much more short-term, that has made a significant difference. And I know when you hear the citations today, you will see how everybody fits into this category. Ultimately, the recipients will be role models and exemplary examples to those around them. It has always been a medal which the Queen asks the Lord Lieutenant, her representative in the county, to present on her behalf. The British Empire Medal was first awarded in 1922 to both military and civilian personnel. But in 1993, after a review of the British honours system, the government decided that the distinction between the British Empire Medal and the MBE had become increasingly tenuous, and the then Prime Minister, John Major, expressed the view that he wanted more local people to receive their awards from the Queen herself. While awards of the British Empire Medal therefore ceased to be made to subjects of the United Kingdom, the medal continued to be awarded in the Commonwealth realms. But what it meant was that many hard-working people giving selflessly of their time were not being recognised by the monarchy, and they deserved to. Because most lists that come out, whether it's birthday honours or New Year's honours, it's around 1,000 recipients, and the system could not manage anymore, So what it meant was quite a few people, a couple of hundred, every honours list, were not getting awarded, and they truly hit that standard and that level where they deserved it. So consequently, after advice from the Lord Lieutenants and the 2011 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, Prime Minister David Cameron announced the BEM would once again be awarded in the United Kingdom, although only in the civil division. This started in 2012 to coincide with the Queen's Jubilee, Diamond Jubilee. And it's quite apposite as we head next year into her Platinum Jubilee. In 2012 birthday honours list, the British Empire Medal was awarded to 293 people. If I just say, it's on average around 200, but ultimately, if there's only 100 people that meet the standard, only 100 people will get it. It's not something that there is an allocation and only that number is given out. You really have to be exceptional individuals to receive this award. This has ensured that we can now formally recognise the meritorious work in our communities, and today we have excellent examples of deserving individuals who have worked extraordinarily hard and selflessly within their sphere of influence and richly and rightly deserve to be honoured by the monarch. The British Empire Medal is a very special medal. It is one of only a few medals that the recipient's name is engraved upon it. Additionally, the recipients can use the letters BEM after their name and will also receive a certificate to recognise the award. You will also receive an invitation to a Buckingham Palace garden party. Now, in terms of the latter, I can't tell you when that will be, because as you know, they have been suspended. But you are on our county's list, and we will make sure, even if it's in 2025, you get to go to Buckingham Palace. I will ask you all to come forward to stand. We have a nice blue COVID circle, actually, which makes a nice place to stand at the front, while I ask the respective Deputy Lieutenant to read your citation. I will then, as you know, give you your award on a lovely velvet cushion, and you can take that, turn around, don't run back to your seat, as some people like to do. Allow your family and friends to take photographs, and then you can go back to your seat. But if you don't want to do that, you can run, if you like. But it is much nicer and much more regal if you could just hold the position for a minute, and we will help you and hold you up. With no further ado, I'm going to ask the first Deputy Lieutenant to come forward and read the citation, and I think that's also the High Sheriff. It's Caroline Buse, who is going to read the citation for Mr. Andrew Bendon, BEM. So Andrew, if you'd like to stand on the blue spot.
Mr. Andrew Bendon, BEM, is present today to receive the British Empire Medal for voluntary service in Cambridgeshire during the COVID-19 response. On Friday the 27th of March, Andrew was called upon by the British Red Cross to support the COVID-19 response. He was appointed as the lead volunteer in Cambridgeshire to assist in the setting up and managing of the county food distribution warehouse. On his first day, Andrew set about writing up a plan for how the food distribution venue would work, identifying areas for the food deliveries, marking out areas for shelving and packing, and ultimately getting the food parcels packed into the delivery vehicles. The first weekend at the warehouse, Andrew marked out the floor with tape to ensure it would be safe for other volunteers to work in. He put together safety briefings and ensured that the warehouse would be a safe environment in which to work, following the national guidelines regarding social distancing. On Monday the 30th of March, Andrew stayed at the warehouse from early morning until 8 o'clock in the evening, when the first government food drop was delivered, to ensure it was not turned away. The following day, he oversaw the deployment of approximately 20 British Red Cross community service volunteers who had come to support the warehouse. Andrew briefed and led the volunteers daily. Within a couple of hours of the deployment of the Red Cross community service volunteers, they had unpacked the government's food drop, completed a stock check, identified how the food parcels could be packed, and ensured 114 food parcels were ready to be dispatched later in the day. Andrew has been volunteering at the warehouse as an operational team leader for 5 or 6 days a week since Tuesday the 31st of March, totalling 60 volunteering days with a conservative total of 540 volunteering hours. In addition to the management of the warehouse, he has overseen the packing and delivery to an approximate 4,000 individuals on the shielded list. Andrew has also, during this time, delivered emergency food parcels either during or after his daily volunteering hours have ended. He has spent his evenings in supermarkets purchasing specific items that have been requested for beneficiaries. Andrew's total volunteering hours are truly unknown. Andrew's final highlight is that he has taken the lead in organising the Safe and Well checks on behalf of Cambridgeshire County Council to those people on the vulnerable list who have not been able to be contacted by Capita or local government. He has overseen approximately 800 door knocks over the last few weeks. Andrew receives the British Empire Medal for voluntary service in Cambridgeshire during the COVID-19 response. Congratulations, Andrew.
The next citation will be read by Benjamin Damazer, Vice Lord Lieutenant of Cambridgeshire, and it's going to be presented to Mrs. Valerie Ware, BEM.
Valerie Elizabeth Ware, BEM, is present today to receive the British Empire Medal for services to the community in Tid St Giles, Cambridgeshire. Valerie has been serving her rural village of Tid St Giles in Cambridgeshire for over 30 years, where she is a key player in village life. Valerie is a vastly experienced former teacher with the British Army and in her home village school. She is superbly organised and has excellent leadership skills that she now deploys to the clear benefit of her local community. She was a school governor at Kinderley Community Primary School from 2000 to 2014. Valerie made a substantial contribution to the life of the school. She skillfully supported the head teacher through 2 successful Ofsted inspections. The school was rated good on 2 occasions. Valerie was the governor responsible for the performance management of the head teacher and liaised successfully and diplomatically with the external performance advisor. She then progressed to become a part-time finance officer at the school. Valerie was fully immersed in the life of the school, from conscientiously supporting fundraising events to assisting pupils with their mathematics work. Social inclusion is a major theme of her contribution. One example of this is the Tid St Giles Luncheon Club, which provides a fortnightly lunch to senior citizens in the village. Some volunteers for the club gradually retired from their positions, but Valerie immediately stepped in to cover all the preparation and cooking so that luncheon club members would still receive a hot meal and enjoy the vital social interaction that is an intrinsic part of such clubs. The Women's Institute is another organisation that benefits from this lady's talents. Valerie has been a member of the local WI since 1985, holding various positions including treasurer and chair. Again, her input is significant. Valerie drives less active and mobile members to meetings, hosts meetings, runs a craft group and organises a twice-yearly coach trip. The wider WI in the area also benefit from her talents. She leads the Isle of Ely WI Federation Choir and chairs the WI Federation. Notwithstanding these substantial inputs, Valerie still finds time and energy to be an active member of the local Bulls Club, organise village dances, and be a member of the parish council. In conclusion, Valerie has made a substantial and wide-ranging contribution to village life over a considerable period. It will be no exaggeration to say that she is the hub upon which village life turns. Valerie receives the British Empire Medal for exceptional services to the community in Tid St Giles, Cambridgeshire. Congratulations.
St Giles have probably fallen down while Valerie's not there today. So, I'd now like to call upon Dame Polly Curtis to do the presentation and the citation for Dr. Tamsin Holland Brown, British Empire Medal.
Tamsin Mary Holland Brown, BEM, is present today to receive the British Empire Medal for services to the NHS during COVID-19. Tamsin is a doctor who, during the pandemic, continued her work as a community paediatrician, but also worked nights and weekends to put together 2 research projects in her spare time to improve patient circumstances. The first project that Tamsin researched and developed was designed to help children to hear. These were children who had no access to grommet operations or hearing aids during COVID. Tamsin had previously developed a system involving headsets, microphones, and the use of an app for children with temporary hearing loss from glue ear. During the pandemic, she funded improvements to this system so that it could offer a remote solution to children with hearing loss, and included offering special advice regarding managing the condition during this particular time. For the second project, Tamsin collaborated with an ophthalmologist to build a simple and cost-effective hearing and vision screening initiative that offered a new way to assess patients, both adults and children, so that hospital appointments were prioritised to those who really needed them. This addressed the concern raised by doctors that thousands of patients would be waiting to be seen as a result of hearing and vision services being reduced or closed during COVID. Tamsin's service during the pandemic includes ongoing work as a community paediatrician and writing patient-facing information on the NHS Trust website. Her work and her research projects will offer lasting support to children in the future should they have difficulties accessing NHS care because of long waiting lists. Tamsin always has a positive and upbeat attitude to work and to the team, a quality that she applied equally at home, where she also dedicated herself to caring for her 5 children, including during a time when she herself had suspected coronavirus. Tamsin receives the British Empire Medal for services to the NHS during COVID-19. Congratulations, Tamsin.
Actually wonder, I didn't think they made 25-hour days, but they clearly do in the Holland household, so hey-ho. I'd now like to call upon Mrs. Karen Daber to read the citation for Mr. David King, British Empire Medal.
Mr. David John King, BEM, is present today to receive the British Empire Medal for services to the National Health Service and to fundraising. In David's professional role, he risks himself to save the lives of others, working as a member of the hazardous response team. When talking about his charity and volunteering work, David raises money for amazing causes, predominantly the Royal Marsden, but also through his work with the local mental health group, which he does in his own time to make the lives of others better. Amongst the numerous events that he has organised and coordinated fundraising for, he brings the community together, getting people to talk about the reasons why they have come to the group. Illness, be it physical or mental, can be a scary and isolating place. David tries to discover if individuals are caring for a loved one and need some support, or whether they just want time out. Regardless of the cause, it brings together a group of people who would normally walk past each other in the street. It gives an opportunity to talk about things that are scary and daunting, and creates networks, makes friends, and helps find solutions. David is an inspirational young man who is of an age where service, particularly voluntary service, is not fashionable, and devotes much of his spare time to working for those less fortunate than himself, particularly in the demanding and difficult area of mental health. Dave has a knack of getting people to open up. He will make time to sit down and listen and make you feel like nothing else is more important than you at that time. Although Dave may not have all the answers, sometimes there are no answers, if you just need someone to listen to, he is that person. Equally, Dave would literally do anything to help raise money, get people talking, to help good causes in the community. David receives the British Empire Medal for services to the National Health Service and to fundraising.
I'd now like to ask Mr. Richard Pemberton to read the citation for Mrs. Janet Bayes, British Empire Medal.
Janet Christine Bayes, BEM, is present today to receive the British Empire Medal for services to the community in Wisbech, Cambridgeshire. Janet is a church organist who has given over 70 years unpaid service to her church. Despite increasing ill health, Janet has become an important fixture of the church and the wider local community. At the age of 16, Janet first began playing the organ on a regular basis and acting as the choir mistress in her local parish church of Tid St Mary in 1948. In 2018, she celebrated her 70th anniversary as the principal church organist. In the intervening years, she taught music and singing at the local convent junior school before retiring after 50 years. Her primary duty is, of course, to play the organ for the weekly services at the church. In over 70 years, she has reportedly never missed a service, except for health reasons, and has never drawn any payment for this work. As part of Janet's work, she selects the music for the services, taking care to select hymns which are appropriate for the readings and sermon of the day, and to the seasons of the year. This aspect of Janet's work is greatly appreciated by the congregation and serves to enhance the spiritual and contemplative experience of the service. In addition to regular Sunday services, Janet also plays the organ for weddings and funerals held at the church, as well as her old school church services and carol services, including the popular casual carols evenings and well-attended communal events held around Christmas, where Janet takes requests from the congregation. Today, Janet suffers from severe hearing loss caused by Meniere's disease, to the extent that she is now unable to even hear the notes she is playing when she performs. Nevertheless, her commitment and determination to serve the church community she loves drives her to continue playing. In addition to Janet's long service as the organist, she is also an active member of the church community. As a member of the Altar Guild, Janet assists in the organisation of various other church events, as well as carrying out aesthetic and minor maintenance tasks, such as brass cleaning and flower arrangements. In summary, Janet is an important member of the church community in Tid, whose contributions are palpable and whose long and dedicated service is greatly appreciated by those around her. Janet receives the British Empire Medal for services to the community in Wisbech, Cambridgeshire.
I'd now like to ask Mrs. Sue Freestone to come and read the citation for Gabriella Pimentel, British Empire Medal.
Gabriella Isabel Pimentel, BEM, is present today to receive the British Empire Medal for services to the elderly during COVID-19. Gabriella is an inspirational fitness instructor who has made exercise plans freely and easily accessible on YouTube, providing detailed instructions in a clear way for exercises to be completed by people over 70 years of age. Gabriella is a musculoskeletal physiotherapist specialising in sports medicine. She spent her career working in professional women's football and national gymnastics, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19, found herself with no work. It was because of the lack of work that she started to help her own grandparents with daily exercise. She then realised that many other elderly people were also struggling. Gabriella decided to take her exercise to YouTube to share with the world. The exercise that Gabriella provides is called Gabby Pimentel's Quarantine Workout, which demonstrates that beneficial movements can be made by holding household items such as tins of food instead of weights, making them accessible to everyone. The exercises were for the physical and mental well-being of the over 70s during the 12+ weeks shielding period recommended by the government. Having a structure and building a routine is extremely important to physical and mental health. Gabriella provided this with a structured exercise routine. Gabriella provided exercise plans that were 22 to 25 minutes long and allowed for the elderly to become fitter, sleep better, and find it easier to follow the government guidelines. Her workouts made the lockdown period more manageable for many elderly citizens, giving them a reason to get out of bed, whilst also providing them with exercises that not only would keep them fit, but help improve their mental health. Those people who've watched Gabriella's fitness videos will benefit in the future, as they can continue with the exercises throughout their lives. Gabriella made a huge difference to a number of lives throughout the lockdown period. She receives the British Empire Medal for exceptional services to the elderly during COVID-19.
We'll all be signing up, Gabriella. And finally, I'd like to call on Professor Roderick Watkins to read the citation for Dr. Michael Weeks, British Empire Medal.
Dr. Michael Paul Weeks, BEM, is present today to receive the British Empire Medal for services to the NHS during COVID-19. Dr. Michael Weeks established a COVID-19 NHS staff testing service to help protect NHS staff and patients from COVID-19 infection. His work has saved lives locally and influenced NHS policy nationally. Dr. Weeks is an infectious diseases clinician and scientist at Cambridge University Hospital, where he cares for patients with severe infections and studies human viruses in his laboratory at the University of Cambridge. At the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, Michael, along with Dr. Stephen Baker, rapidly established a COVID-19 antigen testing platform which allowed all symptomatic Cambridge University Hospital health workers to be tested for COVID-19 and receive their results in less than 24 hours. Above and beyond his job description and expected duties, Michael sourced funding from Cambridge University Hospital and the University of Cambridge to enable the project. He set up a diverse team within Cambridge University Hospital and established effective logistics for COVID-19, sampling and opening pods, enabling swab collections from individuals. Together with Dr. Baker, Michael and his team undertook, performed and reported the results back to the hospital staff within 24 hours. Their findings were unique, with immediate importance and significance, not just to Cambridge University Hospital, but to all hospitals. 3% of over 1,000 staff members reporting fit for duty during April tested positive for COVID-19. In response to their findings, Michael and his team instituted a new safety measure to protect the hospital and control the viral transmission. This safety measure resulted in a dramatic reduction in COVID-19 infections from 3% to 0.8% of healthcare workers testing positive by May 2020. Michael's work was made safer by providing a crucial resource which had not previously been available. It is important to emphasise that this was not a normal part of Michael's job. He continued to look after his patients and run his laboratory, while also setting up and publishing these findings in major health journals. Michael presented his report to the government SAGE committee, and it received significant publicity in the national media. After being discussed by the UK Government Health and Social Care Committee, his results influenced Public Health England and NHS improvement policy. Equally relevant to this important study was that Michael's hard work was instrumental in raising hospital staff morale and helped generate a safer working environment. Dr. Michael Weeks receives the British Empire Medal for services to the NHS during COVID-19.
I'm sure you'll all agree that all the medalists are so deserving, so I think if I could ask you just to give them all a big round of applause. But I just want to say, if you remember the citation or the description I gave of the British Empire Medal at the very beginning, it's about long-standing community service, of which clearly we have two fantastic examples in the ladies who have played the organ or worked with their community in the Women's Institute over many, many years has been fantastic. But we've also seen some real innovation in terms of particularly the sad circumstances that have been brought about by COVID, or maybe it's something that actually we ought to have been thinking about anyway, but to the doctors here who have not only looked after their patients, but have actually gone the extra mile to think about other things that might make people's lives even better. To people who've set up food hubs, absolutely amazing, we couldn't have managed without it. To Gabriella and her team, or Gabriella on her own and her family, who have done the fitness so that people stay healthy and out of hospital, absolutely brilliant. So I think that we've seen here all examples that we've actually had in terms of what a British Empire Medal means. Age is no barrier, because we have both youth and we have people of the older generation. Profession is no barrier, it's actually what you do for your community. And can I say on behalf of all of the people of Cambridgeshire, and particularly all of my colleagues here, we are just so proud to live in a county that has people like you going that extra mile on a daily basis. So from all the bottom of all our hearts, thank you so much for what you've done. This county couldn't survive without people who go the extra mile, and you are absolutely superb role model examples of that. So thank you so much, and one more round of applause. And if we can now just get the recipients outside, we'll take the photograph that we want for posterity. And then very happy for my Deputy Lieutenant's and I to have a photograph with you.